الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابدون ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم ولي دين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم رب شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن وافترضت على عبادك فيه الصيام صل على محمد وآل محمد وارزقني حج بيتك الحرام في عامي هذا وفي كل عام واغفر لي تلك الذنوب العظام فإنه لا يغفرها غيرك يا رحمن يا علام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم أنت رب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير وهذا شهر عظمته كرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور وهو شهر الذي فرضت صيامه علي وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر في هذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار في من تمن عليه وأدخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقيمة وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي وأجب يا رحيم دعوتي وأقل يا غفور عثرتي فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها وهموم قد كشفتها وعثرة قد أقلتها ورحمة قد نشرتها وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك ولم يكن له ولي من الذل وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره وحمده، الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير مع حاجة بي إليه عظيمة، وغناك عنه قديم، وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفحك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي، أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك ورأيتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك، فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا، لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك. فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي أبطأ عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أرى مولى كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا رب. إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك، وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن ليتطول عليك، فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمه بعد علمه، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق، باسط الرزق، فالق الإصباح، ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى، وقرب فشهد النجوى، تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادله، ولا شبيه يشاكله، ولا ظهير يعاضده. قهر بعزته الأعزاء، وتواضع لعظمته العظماء، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي، ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أعصي، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطاني، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني، وبهجة مونقة قد أراني، فأثني عليه حامدا، وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه، ولا يغلق بابه، ولا يرد صائله، ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين، وينجي الصالحين، ويرفع المستضعفين، ويضع المستكبرين، ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين، مبير الظالمين، مدرك الهاربين، نكال الظالمين، صريخ المستصرخين، موضع حاجات الطالبين، معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها، وترجف الأرض وعمارها، وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا، وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق، ويرزق ولا يرزق، ويطعم ولا يطعم، ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى، وهو حي لا يموت، بيده الخير، وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم برحمتك في الصالحين، اللهم برحمتك في الصالحين فأدخلنا، وفي عليين فارفعنا، وبكأس من معين من عين سلسبيل فأسقنا، ومن الحور العين برحمتك فزوجنا، ومن الولدان المخلدين كأنهم لؤلؤ مكنون فأخدمنا. ومن ثمار الجنة ولحوم الطير فأطعمنا. ومن ثياب السندس والحرير والاستبرق فألبسنا. وليلة القدر وحج بيتك الحرام وقتلا في سبيلك فوفق لنا. وصالح الدعاء والمسألة فاستجب لنا. وإذا جمعت الأولين والآخرين يوم القيامة فارحمنا. وبراءة من النار فاكتب لنا. وفي جهنم فلا تغلنا. وفي عذابك وهوانك فلا تبتلنا. ومن الزقوم والضريع فلا تطعمنا. ومع الشياطين فلا تجعلنا. وفي النار على وجوهنا فلا تكببنا. ومن ثياب النار سرابيل القطران فلا تلبسنا. ومن كل سوء يا لا إله إلا أنت بحق لا إله إلا أنت برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. الله صل على محمد وعلى
Just ask Mariam to come and give a short talk before the main talk, please. Thank you. Please recite the salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So since the big nights of Laylatul Qadr are coming up, today I'll be talking about Laylatul Qadr and one of the main misconceptions I have of these nights. So in this night, of course, Angel Jibreel reveals the first verses of the Quran to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Laylatul Qadri al-Qadr, khayrun man afli shahrin. This is Ayah 3 from Surah Al-Qadr. Ayah 3 says that the nights of glory is better than 1,000 months. In other words, if you pray on the nights of Laylatul Qadr, Allah will definitely give you what you pray for. For me, this is where the misconception came in. As I got older and started to realize that I wasn't necessarily getting what I'd asked for in my prayers, I realized that the only reason I prayed so hard on this night is because I truly believed that if I asked, for example, to go to Disneyland, it would come true the next day. Of course, this wasn't true. Therefore, I was only praying because I expected something in return. Because of this misunderstanding that on Laylatul Qadr, if you pray, you will get what you want, I felt disheartened when that often didn't come true. So today, with a small story about Prophet Musa, I want to show you all that sometimes you may not get what you want, and the reasons to why you may not get that might not be apparent straight away. So moving on to the story of Prophet Musa and Khidr. This story itself is extremely long and it could take forever to tell, as there are many different journeys that Prophet Musa alayhi salam and his companion Khidr go on. So today I'll be focusing one of these journeys within the story and how we can link this to patience and accepting that we may not get what we want. So the story is about Prophet Musa alayhi salam and one of his companions, whose name is said to be Khidr, but it's never really specified. This story is mentioned at the end of Surah Qatab, and it takes place after all the well-known events that Prophet Musa is often associated with. So Prophet Musa is one of the most mentioned prophets in the Quran and is committed to learning. However, what more does he have to learn if he's already been through so much? Well, we'll find out. So, moving on to the story. Sorry. So Allah asks Prophet Musa to go on this journey to go learn something. So Prophet Musa, of course, says yes, and him and his companion Khidr begin on this journey. Before going on this journey, Musa has to ask Khidr if he's allowed to go on this journey with him. So he keeps asking and asking. Khidr keeps saying no. Khidr says that Prophet Musa won't be patient enough to go on this journey with him. Eventually, Khidr says yes. So they begin this journey. And the first lesson begins on a boat. So they ask the travelers on the boat if they're allowed to go on the boat with them to travel across the sea. And the travelers agree, and so Musa and Khidr are let on the boat. This means that the travelers have done Musa and Khidr a favor by letting them on the boat. So the last thing you would expect is for Khidr to go against them and harm them because they've just let them on the boat, right? That's exactly what Khidr does. He goes right inside the boat and starts ripping out the planks of the boat. And Musa's astonished. Why are you ripping out the planks of the boat? It's going to sink. They've just helped us. And Khidr's just like, I told you weren't going to be patient enough to go on this journey with me. So Musa takes a step back and he's like, okay, I apologize. Can we just carry on this journey? And so they carry on their journey, and Khidr keeps committing all these acts, and it makes no sense to Musa. He keeps doing loads of things. And eventually, Musa gets fed up. He's like, you're not explaining why you're doing all these things to me, doing all these things. So I'm just going to leave. And this is when Khidr explains why he's done each of these things. So at the beginning of the story, when he was ripping the planks out of the boat, this is because the king was going to war and he was taking all the ships, taking all the boats to be part of his navy. And when he saw that the boat was broken, he decided to let the boat be, meaning that he had saved the boat. So, the moral of this story, or at least the one I want to share with you today, that links to asking for things in the nights of Laylatul Qadr, is sometimes you have to wait for things to happen and be patient in order to get what you want. Just like in the story, there was no apparent reason in Musa's eyes for why Khidr was going about doing all these things. Right now, you may not understand why Allah is not giving you what you ask for, but Allah is all knowing and all powerful, so there may be a bigger reason as to why you're not getting what you want. At the end of the day, Allah knows what's best for you, and maybe at this moment in time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't think it's right for you. I want to end this speech with a thought from a scholar called Pliny, who was born in the 1st century. He believed that when bears were born, they were born into shapeless lumps, and their mother licked them into shape. The same way as humans need to be molded in order to be the best versions of ourselves. Therefore, Allah may not give you what you want straight away, as He is molding you to be a better version of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam, for a wonderful talk. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I have the honor today of introducing our distinguished guest speaker. But before I do so, quick housekeeping announcement, and it's a very important one. So just to ensure everyone in the room can hear me loud and clearly. Mudassir, can you give me a wave at the back if you can hear me, right? Brilliant, okay. So, it's an announcement and a housekeeping announcement for everyone, but primarily for those who have young children with them. It's fully understandable that the young children can get quite restless during the talks. However, as it says on the outside quite clearly, and we've mentioned it a number of times, but this rule hasn't been adhered to in the last few days, so I'm announcing it again. Food and drink is strictly not permitted inside this hall. So if your kids require something to snack on, the conference room is open and you can take them there if they need crisps or popcorn or whatever they might be eating on. Food and drink is not permitted at all in this hall. So if you can take your kids there, if they need something to eat, that's absolutely fine. The second thing is, if we can ask, as we always do, everyone to come as far forward as possible, so anyone who needs to come in later can come in at the back with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That being said, as I said, it's my honor to introduce our distinguished and renowned guest speaker, who is a scholar, having studied many years in the seminary of the Holy City of Qom, and also in the seminaries in Syria as well. Today, to speak to us about Ramadan reflections of the heart, I introduce, and please give a loud salawat to Shaykh Mohamed Yasin Devji. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على جميع الأنبياء والمرسلين لا سيما خاتمهم وأفضلهم محمد مصطفى صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وعلى أهل بيت الطهارة لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين الحجة ابن الحسن أجر الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. My elders, brothers and sisters, and my youngsters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Before I begin, the sister who was here before, Sister Maryam, I just want to say I feel what you're talking about. One Laylatul Qadr, back in the 80s when I was a kid, I really prayed hard for a pair of the first ever Air Jordan basketball trainers. And what I was met with the next day was a 10% voucher. So, قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you who have faith, prescribed for you is fasting, as it was prescribed for those who were before you, so that you may be God-wary. Please recite a salawat. Now, what's interesting is that this particular verse is recited at the beginning of the month. So here we are now on the 17th day, heading into the 18th night. So you must be wondering, and the exegetes and scholars and lecturers all over the world will recite this verse on the first night. So the question is, why are we reciting this particular verse on the 17th day, heading into the 18th night? Well, the reason is simple, is that we want to delve into an exposition on the outcome of fasting. It's well and good that the first part of the ayah talks about how fasting was prescribed and whom it was prescribed for, but the crux of the ayah is the last part, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that perhaps you may become God-wary or have taqwa. Before we sort of delve into this, it's counterintuitive that I'm speaking at an academic institution where we deal with rational proofs, we deal with philosophical proofs, we deal with scriptural proofs, we deal with all these things. But very little is talked about, or very little is discussed about the religious experience. And what I mean by the religious experience is what we feel, what runs through our soul, what runs through our emotions, what runs through us as people, through our hearts. So our exercise this evening will be a little bit different. We won't be dealing so much with rational proofs. I won't bore you with philosophical proofs, but we'll actually be dealing with our feelings and what we feel from the heart as we go into this. We'll be talking about the concept of taqwa. We'll be talking about the concept of taqwa through the lens of the fitrah, and we'll go through an exercise momentarily to help us to become aligned and centered and to move into and to begin to tap into the fitrah and to be able to feel the fitrah, and through the fitrah be able to get a sense of what taqwa is. What is this outcome that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about in the Quran? So, if you'll indulge me, we're going to go into a very gentle meditation exercise. So everybody be comfortable. And what I'd like you to do initially is to close your eyes or soften your eyes and follow my instructions. So to start, let's recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now I'd like you to begin to breathe. Take in the breath through your nose and exhale through the mouth. And really begin to focus on your breathing. Taking a breath in and taking a breath out. And really, really focus on your breathing. If you feel your breathing is shallow, start to slowly extend it into your stomach. And really begin to feel the breath all throughout your body. And as you're breathing, and as you're feeling your breathing, what I'd like you to do is bring to your mind one quality one negative quality that you feel fasting brings out on you. And we are close to Maghrib, so definitely it won't be difficult. So just breathe in and out and bring to your mind that negative quality you think that fasting brings out in you, and really, really bring that image to the forefront. And as you're visualizing that particular quality, I want you to take that quality and begin to synchronize it with your breathing. So inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, taking it deep inside. Begin to feel that negative quality. Feel it in your mind, feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in your arms, throughout your body, and to feel that negative image or that negative quality that you perceive. And as you begin to experience this particular quality, it's very important to try and understand that this is a quality or this is a characteristic of myself, but it is not myself. So, bearing that in mind, I want you to slowly, slowly try to take this quality and separate it from yourself. Separate it from yourself such that you are now looking at this particular quality. Continue with your breathing, taking in through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and slowly, slowly begin to look at this quality. Look at this quality. So now, this quality now is you're looking at it from a vantage point. And as you're looking at this quality, I want you to pay attention to that thing or yourself or the I that is looking at that quality. And as you're looking at that quality, that I that you're experiencing or that self that you're experiencing while looking at that quality, I want you to look at that quality and I want you to try and put into yourself lovingness and patience as you look at that quality, and kindness and compassion as you look at that quality. So continue, focus on your breathing. You're seeing the quality in front of you. You're beginning to recognize and tap into yourself, and you're looking at that quality. And not only are you looking at that quality, you're beginning to look at that quality within yourself as through the eyes of love and compassion. And as you continue the exercise and as you continue to look at that particular quality, I want you to shift the focus onto yourself, that loving and compassionate self that's looking at that negative quality. And slowly, slowly, whenever you're ready, take your time and continue to focus on your breathing. I want you to slowly begin to shift the focus onto yourself. Shift the focus onto yourself and really feel yourself. Feel that loving and compassionate self that you are. And slowly, slowly, that characteristic begins to fade from view and the focus shifts onto yourself. While you continue breathing, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, really begin to feel that sense of self, that deep self. Start to feel it from your eyes, slowly making its way down to your throat, into your chest area, and into your stomach area, and throughout your arms and your legs, and really focus on that self. Really hone in and focus on that I or that self that you are. As you begin to feel yourself and become aware of yourself, take that view of yourself or the way that you see yourself and begin to project it upwards, as if you're looking upwards. Continue to focus on your breathing, exhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Now pay very close attention to where you feel yourself right now and what you're looking at. And slowly, slowly, I want you to continue your breathing. And whenever you're ready, very slowly and very gently begin to open your eyes and bring yourself back to the gathering where we find ourselves. Inshallah, we have everybody back. Please recite a salawat. This exercise that we just went through, this meditation exercise, was to, first of all, bring to the forefront something about ourselves, a perceived negative quality that exists within ourselves. That was the first point of it. The second point of it was to separate that negative quality from ourselves and look deep within ourselves to find our sense of self. And the third part of the exercise was to, as we are becoming aware of ourselves, to metaphorically look up and to see if there was anything there. Is there a higher self of consciousness, even if it was for a split second? That experience, that experiential experience that you underwent, where you began to tap into yourself, where you began to become aware of yourself, and as you looked upwards and started to feel that there was something else up there looking down at you, or you looking up at it, that is exactly what we call the fitrah. And it is through the fitrah that we are going to talk about and delve into the topic of taqwa today. What is the fitrah? The fitrah is defined as, comes from the Arabic root fatara, and it means creation, to split, to rip, to tear, or the process of a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. Also, like germination, the sprouting of a seed, a spore, or anything else reproductive, usually from a period of dormancy. The Arabic root fatara, then put on the template of fa'la, which is fitra, denotes a type or a manner of style or fashioning. And based on this, the fitra is then a type of splitting or a type of creation, as the Quran identifies. Surah Rum, ayah 30 says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ لِخَلْقِ اللَّهِ ذَلِكَ الدِّينِ الْقَيِّيمِ وَلَكِنْ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Set your heart as a person of pure faith on his religion, the original nature. This is the original nature endowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to which He originated mankind. There is no altering Allah's creation. That is the upright religion, but most people do not know. The relationship between the fitrah and taqwa is that flash or that connection that you perhaps may have felt in that last moment, it is, from a perspective, it is our innate nature looking up at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in one sense, but the more accurate sense that is that as each and every thing in creation, and we especially as human beings, are a manifestation of the divine attributes and names, it is more like a hard wiring. And when I say hard wiring, I'll qualify that by saying, as we are a collection of the manifestation of the divine attributes, we are not separate from Allah. So therefore, we are not necessarily looking up at Allah, but rather that hard wiring that exists within us is actually Allah's manifestation inside of us. And so we're actually looking at the Allah that exists within us. Amir al-Mu'mineen, sorry, not Amir al-Mu'mineen, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I am closer to you than your jugular vein. What does that mean? It's not that He's located somewhere in here. No, you are His manifestation, therefore He exists within you. Now, the relationship between the fitrah and taqwa is that that moment where you felt that particular connection or where you felt that particular awareness of yourself, the relationship between taqwa and fitrah is that the fitrah is a state of being, is your permanent state of being. Whereas taqwa is the procedural outcome of the fitrah. Do you understand? And taqwa, and so therefore the relationship is that as the more the fitrah is awoken, the more the fitrah is awake, the more taqwa increases inside someone. I'm not going to because many scholars and lecturers have spoken on the definition of taqwa and what it is, we won't delve deep into a lexical discussion of what taqwa is, but for the intents and purposes of our discussion, taqwa will be defined as that type of God consciousness. And the God consciousness that then allows a human being to then carry out actions which will protect itself. Protect itself from what? Protect itself from sin, protect itself from that which is not pleasurable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please recite a salawat. Now it's interesting when we hear about taqwa, at least when I was growing up, and the sort of talks I heard about taqwa is that taqwa is the maqam of taqwa is a very high station. And that you have to strive and you have to struggle. And basically, many times I was told, don't even waste your time thinking about it because it's not going to happen for you, which this was common to my generation in growing up. What's interesting is we actually have an ayah in the Quran that talks about how the taqwa should be. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Innama amwalakum wa awladakum fitnatun wallahu indahu ajrun azim. Fattaqullaha mastata'tum واسمعوا وأطيعوا وأنفقوا خيرا لأنفسكم ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم مفلحون. Rather, your possessions and children are a test, and Allah with Him is a great reward. So be wary of Allah. So this be wary of Allah is fattaqu, yani have taqwa, be wary of Allah. But then He qualifies it by saying, as much as you can. Listen and obey and spend in the way of Allah. That is better for yourselves. Those who are saved from their own greed, it is they who are felicitous. So even in trying to develop our taqwa, even in trying to act out those actions that increase our taqwa, Allah is telling us, do as much as you can. It is not a situation where, again, like I said, how I was taught is that, you got to do this, you got to do that, you have to do this. It's interesting. I'll digress for a second. So, for example, with the nights of Qadr coming up, 2 points I want to make about that. The first point is I'll circle back and talk about the issue of religious experience. Religious experience is so important in our faith and so important in allowing our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with the nights of Qadr coming up, I wish to say to you that religious experience should be a big part of your nights of Qadr. It's one thing to sit and to read all the adiyah and to read the ziyarat and to carry out all the rituals. However, if there's no sense of religious experience, then you will have deprived yourself and you will have missed out on a very, very big factor of the night. And that religious experience is that connection you have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second point about the Laylatul Qadr is coming back to doing as much as you can. Now, let us liken it to a handyman, right? A handyman goes to somewhere to fix something. Now he will carry all his tools with him. When he gets to the residence or the commercial property, however you may, that he needs to fix something, there generally is one problem with the house or the building. Even if it's a big problem, it's all rooted in one thing. So what does the handyman do? The handyman reaches into his toolbox, he pulls out the necessary tool that he needs to use and fixes whatever he needs to fix. How does this relate to Laylatul Qadr? Well, when we look at ourselves on the night of Qadr, and when we really look at ourselves in the mirror and really examine ourselves, we see that there are things that we want to rectify. But generally speaking, there's one main thing we want to rectify. And even if we are absolutely as a disaster and have many things wrong, it all still goes back to one thing. But again, the way I was raised is that you get your toolbox on the night of Qadr, which would be your dua book or your ziyarat book or your mafati, and you pull out all the tools and you use all the tools. You understand? So it can be counterproductive. So really take the time on the night of Qadr to look within yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I want to focus on this year? And also have faith in Allah as well too, that this is not my last Layal al-Qadr. Inshallah, Allah will give me, I'm actually praying on that night that Allah will give me life to partake in another year. So you look at yourself and you take that one tool, whatever it may be. It can be a ziyarah, it can be a dua, it can be a munajat, it could be a conversation, it could be contemplation, whatever, and use that thing on whatever it is you need to work for effectively with quality. Please recite a salawat. So we'll talk a little bit more about the fitrah in the narrations. So we have a narration where someone comes to Imam as-Sadiq. He says, I asked Imam about the fitrah in this particular ayah, Fatara Nasa alayha, the ayah that we did before. The Imam replied that he had designed, fashioned, programmed the souls with the ma'rifah knowledge that he is their Lord, the common thread that unites humans in humanity. So many times, one of the definitions you hear of the fitrah is that innate humanity, innate human nature that we have. That is a definition. That is a definition of the fitrah. But again, the more daqiq, the more precise definition would be that hardwiring that exists within you. And then it talks about, then the riwayat go on to talk about what is it that can ruin the fitrah. So in another narration, it says the only thing that can ruin taqwa is the overcoming of it of temptation. The other thing that can cause problems to the fitrah is greed, excessive desire, spoils, ruins, disengagement, detachment, and evil actions destroy not only the taqwa but destroy the fitrah. And finally, the last point from scripture is that there is no honor greater than taqwa. So to recap our talk, the more the fitrah is open, the more the fitrah is awake. The fitrah, again, is many times is defined as a thing, which it is, but it's not a thing independent. It is something that is attached to something. Attached to what? Attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the more the fitrah is awake, the more the fitrah is open, the more the taqwa increases. The more the taqwa increases. Please recite a salawat. We'll close off with an exercise, which inshallah I hope will be of benefit and increase us in our hope as we head into these nights, and allow us to sit in front of Allah, who is the most merciful, the most beneficent, and the most merciful, and to look at Him with those hopeful eyes that we will receive from His mercy and we will benefit from His mercy, and not only that He truly does love us. So we'll close off with this exercise. It's a last meditation. I ask you to indulge with me until iftar time, and we'll go through it. So again, we'll close our eyes or soften our gazes and start the breathing exercise. In through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, and again out through the mouth. Really feel your breath this time, in this moment. Really feel your breath from the neck all the way down through your arms and through your legs, and begin to breathe. And while you're breathing, I want you to bring an image to your mind. I want you to bring an image of someone who did something really, really wonderful for you. And bring the image of that person into your mind. And as you bring the image of that person into your mind, I want you to then begin to focus on that particular virtue that you admire most about that person, and identify what that virtue is. And as you're breathing, let that virtue to be part of your breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And really focus on that particular virtue. Feel it deep within yourself. Begin to feel that virtue in your breath, through your neck, into your chest, into your stomach area, into your arms, and into your legs. And really, really feel and begin to actualize it through that virtue, through your breath, within your system. Deeply, very, very deeply. And continue to breathe in and breathe out. And really take hold of that virtue. Really feel it deep inside of you. And continue to breathe. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, and feel that virtue all through you. Now, slowly, slowly, whenever you're ready, begin to open your eyes and come back to our gathering. So that virtue, that person that you saw, and that virtue that you identified, and that virtue that you meditated with, and you sat with, and you felt within yourself, I will close off the session by saying that the person that you brought forth and the virtue were one, and the virtue and the person is in fact each and every one of you. Please recite a salawat.
I have a few minutes if there's any questions, if anybody wants to make any comments. Doesn't look like it, Hassan. Thank you so much, Shaykh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sheikh Devji, for your talk. Tonight, after Iftar and Isha prayers at 9 o'clock, we will have a discussion circle on authentic spirituality in the West, which will be facilitated by Sheikh Devji and Dr. Zohair Ismail. Just please note that there will be no live streaming for that program. Then, inshallah, starting from tomorrow, we will have 3 programs to commemorate the Shahadat of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Tomorrow we'll start at 7 p.m. with Quran, a short talk by Huiz Hussein Birmingham, followed by a talk by Sheikh Arif Abdul Hussein on Imam Ali and spirituality, followed by Maghrib and Iftar. If I can kindly request you all to please register as soon as possible to help us with catering, and also that is the same link to register for all 3 programs. Then tomorrow, after Iftar at 9:30 p.m., we will have Laylatul Qadr spiritual nights, starting with Isha Salat. Please refer to the poster for full details. We have also launched our T4C feedback video. We would like you all to send us a short video of maximum 1 or 2 minutes of your experience of T4C Ramzan programs, what you like, why you come, and anything else you'd like to share. You can do that with family and friends or on your own. If you can please email all clips to t4change2019@gmail.com by Sunday 16th April latest. And the videos will be shared during our special Eid night program on Thursday the 20th, and also on our social media platforms. And if you have any question, then please ask any of the volunteers. We are still in need of your canned donation to help us cover the cost of the upcoming Ramzan programs. You can donate to T4C Ramzan programs by cash in the donation box by the refreshments, or by card, PayPal, and bank details that have been already shared on the group. This month, we're also supporting Huiz Hussein Birmingham, who is providing food to the less fortunate. And you can sponsor hot meal and a drink just for £2 per person. So please kindly donate on the links that we have shared on our WhatsApp group. Can I request you all to please recite a Surah Fatiha for all those who are unwell, the marhumin of tonight's donors, and all marhumin al-Fatiha. Iftar will be inshallah served after Maghrib Salat in the dining room. As usual, you know the rules. Please be seated at the tables and food will be brought to you. If you need any refills, then please, if one person from each table can go to the kitchen to get that. And if you've requested vegetarian, then please ask one of the volunteers. And if you can, and you're very good at that, please help us to tidy afterwards as well. And Isha Jama Salat will be recited at approximately 9 p.m. Thank you.